Hello, I'm Raymond and you're watching Nightline. The top stories. Cabinet ministers to take 20% pay cut, says PM. And government to review plans for 5G rollout. Good morning. Cabinet ministers have agreed to a 20% pay cut until Malaysia reaches economic recovery. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said this was part of their gesture in acknowledging the tough times faced by many people currently.
Jamaah Menteri setuju bahawa semangat kerana keprihatinan terhadap masalah rakyat, memotong gaji tiap bulan 20%. Gaji motong ni memang tidak wajar, ya. Tetapi saya terima kasih kerana kesediaan mereka melakukan sedikit pengorbanan. Ada orang kata Anwar patutlah dia tak ambil gaji Perdana Menteri kerana dia ambil gaji Menteri Kewangan. Tak betul, gaji ni satu saja.
Datuk Seri Anwar said the salary cut would remain in effect until the country's economy had recovered. He also said good policies which were implemented by the previous government would be continued by the unity government. On another note, the Prime Minister said the government will implement a rigorous review to deploy the service of the fifth-generation network 5G in Malaysia. Datuk Seri Anwar said that 5G rollout needs to be reviewed and implemented in a transparent manner.
I've instructed that this be reviewed because it was not done in a transparent manner. There was no proper tender process. And therefore, we need to review to make sure that we follow a strict financial procedure to ensure that things are done properly.
Last year, Datuk Seri Anwar warned that the lack of transparency behind the rollout of the 5G mobile technology through DNB has the potential to evolve into a scandal as big as One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB. At the same time, Digital Nasional Berhad DNB on Sunday clarified that the approved cost of the 5G network and infrastructure deployment amounting to 16.5 billion ringgit over the next 10 years is funded by revenue generated by the sale of 5G capacity mobile network operators MNOs. DNB said there was no government funding or guarantees that were anticipated or expected, other than initial startup investment of 500 million ringgit. The Prime Minister, meanwhile, said there was a serious breach of procedure in government spending during the administration of former Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. He said this included excessive procurements, high markups, as well as the money going to certain parties. Commenting on the alleged misappropriation of 600 billion ringgit in government funds during Tan Sri Muhyiddin's administration, the Prime Minister said that the Cabinet did not discuss the issue.
Tapi yang setakat yang saya tahu dan diberi maklumat oleh pegawai, ada beberapa pelanggaran yang agak serius, ya, terutama perolehan terlalu banyak. Jadi bila kita luluskan beberapa projek, jadi markup itu terlalu tinggi dan dana itu sampai kepada parti-parti tertentu yang memperlihatkan keupayaan mereka berbelanja luar biasa.
He said there was no discussion over the formation of a Royal Commission of Inquiry, RCI, to probe the issue and that he would leave it to the Cabinet to decide. Datuk Seri Anwar said he nevertheless is not keen on embarking on a witch hunt. The government will unveil a new mechanism to control the market prices of eggs on Tuesday. The Prime Minister said Agriculture and Food Security Minister Muhammad Sabu will make the announcement.
Yang diharapkan diumumkan oleh beliau esok dengan harga yang lebih rendah dan kerana mengurangkan kebergantungan kepada kartel. Jadi kita harap jumlah pengedaran telur dalam pasaran cukup dan harganya itu diberitahu tadi akan dikurangkan.
The Prime Minister recently chaired the National Action Council on Cost of Living special meeting, and in the next few weeks, the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry is expected to give its suggestions on ways to curb the issue. The Prime Minister spoke to the media after chairing the special cabinet meeting at the Perdana Putra complex at 10 a.m. The meeting marks the first cabinet meeting for the federal ministers of the unity government. Dato Sri Anwar had on Friday announced the much-anticipated cabinet lineup consisting of 28 ministers with 2 deputy prime ministers. Barisan Nasional BN Chairman Dato Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi and Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS Chief Whip Dato Sri Fadilah Yusof have been appointed as his deputies in the country's first unity government. The Prime Minister had set measures to reduce the burden of the people and ways to stimulate the economy are top of the list of priorities of the Cabinet. Dato Sri Anwar said the Cabinet would focus on good governance and eradicating corruption and abuse of power.
Malaysians have spoken in GE15. What follows is the anticipation for the appointment of Malaysia's 10th Prime Minister.
Oleh kerana ada hang parlimen, maka kita ambil lebih masa sedikit.
Mereka ini penentu kepada keputusan pilihan raya.
Tune into 119 jam menuju ke Putrajaya, only on TV3.
Former Prime Minister and Perikatan Nasional PN Chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has dismissed claims that he abused 600 billion ringgit of public funds during his administration. He said he was not afraid of being investigated and urged the members of UMNO and Pakatan Harapan PH to stop pointing fingers at others by making false accusations to cover up the weaknesses of the new government. In a Facebook post on Monday, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said he was not sure where the figure is being cited from, but believed that the allegations levelled against him were related to the 8 economic stimulus packages worth 530 billion ringgit, which were meant to aid the rakyat and businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic when he held the country's top post. However, of this sum, the majority of it was non-fiscal, meaning that it did not involve government expenditure. This included the various Employees Provident Fund EPF withdrawal facilities introduced, the reduction in EPF employees' share statutory contribution rate, and loan moratoriums. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also insisted that his administration had only spent 83 billion ringgit in fiscal injections, which he maintained was not misused. He stressed that the Finance Ministry, specifically the Economic Stimulus Implementation and Coordination Unit between national agencies, Laksana, has detailed records of expenditure for all stimulus packages implemented. He added that if there was any wrongdoing or misappropriation of funds, it would have been detected by the National Audit Department, the Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, or Bank Negara Malaysia. Barisan Nasional BN Secretary General Dato Sri Zamri Abdul Kadir on Monday said the Unity Federal Government will soon sign a coalition agreement. This is to ensure the stability of its administration and to foster the people's confidence in the new government. According to Dato Sri Zamri, who is also the new Foreign Minister, the final draft of the coalition agreement is nearly ready. This followed a series of discussions held between more than 2 parties in the unity government on the agreement. However, he declined to reveal the contents of the agreement, saying it will be known soon. The main components of the unity government are PH, BN, GPS, GRS, Parti Bangsa Malaysia, Warisan, and Parti Kesejahteraan Demokratik Malaysia. Meanwhile, Economic Affairs Minister Rafizi Ramli said extraordinary circumstances had led the Prime Minister to take over as the Finance Minister. He said that Sri Anwar took on the role to prevent conflict among the coalitions and parties that form the unity government.
Jadi kalau contohnya ada orang daripada PH yang jadi Menteri Kewangan pun, itu akan ada masalah kepada BN. Kalau daripada BN ada masalah kepada PH dan GPS dan lain-lain. Oleh kerana is an extraordinary situation now, maka keputusan itu bagi saya sesuai buat masa sekarang, iaitu senang Perdana Menteri yang jadi Menteri Kewangan. Supaya dia tak timbul isu tentang gabungan yang berbeza.
Rafizi spoke to the media after clocking in on his first day in the office on Monday. Last Friday, Dr. Sri Anwar announced that he would also be the finance minister in the new cabinet of the unity government. Before this, he held the finance minister portfolio for 8 years, and that's from 1991 to 1998. The Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister, Datuk Sri Salahuddin Ayub, will hold a special meeting on Tuesday with industry players on the shortage of eggs and packet cooking oil. Datuk Sri Salahuddin said the meeting was aimed at identifying the real situation and gathering the latest information regarding the supply of the two essential goods.
All the players akan kita panggil. Yang pertamanya, yang terdekat adalah yang melibatkan industri minyak sawit seperti Felda, seperti Samdabi dan lain-lain untuk kita mendapatkan taklimat terkini tentang isu bekalan.
Dr. Sri Salahuddin said this to reporters after surveying the supply and price of essential goods at a hypermarket in Kuchai Lama, Kuala Lumpur on Monday. He added that the meeting will also improve the ministry's relationship with industry players, as well as find ways to resolve the pervasive issues at large, including ways to lower the price of the goods. Meanwhile, at an earlier press conference in Putrajaya, Datuk Sri Salahuddin said the ministry will immediately activate the National Action Council on Cost of Living, NACOL, to find solutions to the cost of living issue plaguing the people, including implementing targeted subsidies for the low-income group. During a meeting between the government's top officials and Prime Minister Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim on November 27th, the Premier instructed NACOL to analyse and go through the subsidy implications within 2 weeks. Social media provider TikTok has given its commitment to forge strategic cooperation with the Digital Communications Ministry to eradicate the spread of provocative and extremist content on the platform. Digital Communications Minister Fahmi Fadil said the cooperation through the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, was aimed at swiftly curbing and combating the dissemination of negative content that could disrupt the country's harmony. In a statement on Monday, Fahmi stressed that the government will not tolerate content that touches on the sensitivity and position of the royal institution, as well as rulers, religion and race on social media. During a press conference earlier, he also said that he will hold several series of discussions with other social media providers to understand the regulatory framework of each platform and ensure that the issue at hand is tackled holistically and quickly.
Dia bukan hanya kepada TikTok tapi kepada platform-platform yang lain juga. Tapi TikTok ni kita nampak sebab sebaran contohnya video mengenai 13 Mei yang sangat merisaukan antara lain, jadi kita mulakan dengan TikTok.
Fahmi said this to the media after attending a ministerial briefing on his official first day at the Digital Communications Ministry in Putrajaya. On the ministerial briefing, Fahmi said the issue of fake news and the spread of extreme content was the main topic of discussion, stressed on 11 agencies and 3 departments under his ministry. Other topics discussed were the issue of personal data protection to curb online scams and the establishment of a Malaysia Media Council. He also said guaranteeing media freedom would be prioritized, as well as the welfare of media practitioners in the country. In other news, the Agriculture and Food Security Ministry hopes to be given more allocations in the face of a possible economic and food crisis next year. Its newly appointed minister, Muhammad Sabu, said this was also to smoothen ministry operations and ensure all of its plans are in order.
Kita akan lihat pertama sekali soal harga makanan, khasnya harga telur. Sebab itu makanan awam, umum. Daripada orang miskin sampailah kepada kelas atasan makan telur. Jadi itu perkara yang perlu kita ambil perhatian khas di samping harga ikan, harga ayam, dan kita akan bincang dengan para pegawai. Makanan, bekalan makanan, sebagainya.
Muhammad added that even now, some basic food items are still considered pricey, and the ministry will try to play a role in stabilizing prices. He told this to reporters after attending a briefing with ministry officials in Putrajaya on Monday. The Employees Provident Fund, EPF, recorded a total gross investment income of 39.31 billion ringgit for the 9 months ended September 30th, 2022, a decrease of 18% or 8.71 billion ringgit from 48 billion ringgit recorded in 2021. Meanwhile, total gross investment income for the third quarter amounted to 12.32 billion ringgit, a decrease of 1.65 billion ringgit or 12% compared to 13.97 billion ringgit in the third quarter of 2021. However, quarter on quarter, the total gross investment income achieved in the third quarter was 11% higher compared to the 11.14 billion ringgit recorded in the previous quarter. We're going for a short break. When we come back, North Korea fires 130 artillery rounds in latest military drill. Stay tuned. Back with the news from the foreign front now. Thousands of residents in Indonesia's East Java were on high alert on Monday, with more than 2,400 villagers having now fled their homes and taken shelter in 11 evacuation centers after the eruption of Mount Semeru. It was reported that the Provincial Search and Rescue Agency deployed teams to the worst affected areas near Mount Semeru on Monday to evacuate people and assess the damage. Officials have also announced a state of emergency for the next 2 weeks, warning people of danger from cooling lava, despite less activity from the volcano. The 3,676-meter volcano erupted at 2:46 p.m. local time on Sunday, prompting authorities to impose an 8-kilometer no-go zone due to risks of lava flows. However, no casualties have been reported, and there has not been any immediate disruption to air travel. Indonesia is expected to ratify sweeping changes to its criminal code on Tuesday in a legal overhaul that critics say could wind back hard-won democratic freedoms and police morality in the Southeast Asian nation. Among the most controversial revisions to the code are articles that would penalize sex outside of marriage with up to 1 year in jail, outlaw cohabitation between unmarried couples, insulting the president and expressing views counter to the national ideology known as the Pancasila. It was understood that Parliament would hold a plenary session on Tuesday to ratify the new code, with the government and House of Representatives having agreed on the draft code, clearing a hurdle to its passage. Once ratified, the new code will come into effect after 3 years as the government and related institutions draft related regulations. North Korea fired a barrage of artillery shells into a maritime buffer zone on Monday, the latest in a series of launches by an increasingly belligerent Pyongyang. According to South Korea's military, about 130 artillery rounds were simultaneously fired at 2:59 p.m. local time from two separate sites, one on North Korea's east coast and one on the west coast. Seoul said the barrage was a clear violation of the 2018 agreements between the North and South that established the buffer zone in a bid to reduce tensions. The South Korean military claimed that it has sent several warning communications to North Korea over the firing, but it did not immediately report on the artillery fire. Instead, Pyongyang has been carrying out an increasing number of military activities, including missile launches and drills by warplanes and artillery units. Football, the 2022 World Cup. Free-scoring England extended their unbeaten record against African teams with a 3-0 victory over Senegal on Sunday as they set up a quarter-final clash with holders France. England had initially looked sluggish against Senegal's pacey forwards in the two nations' first-ever encounter, with a wonderful one-handed save by Jordan Pickford stopping Boulaye Dia from giving the African side a shock lead. But Jordan Henderson settled England's nerves in the 38th minute, stroking the ball home after being played in by Jude Bellingham at the end of a lovely passing move. Captain Harry Kane struck a ferocious shot past goalkeeper Edouard Mendy with the last kick of the first half, leaving him one goal behind Wayne Rooney's record of 53 goals for England. Nippy winger Bukayo Saka backed the third in a neat chip over Mendy after a cross by Phil Foden in the 57th minute. England's goal fest in Qatar, 12 so far, equals their previous best World Cup total at Russia 2018 when they made the semi-finals. They scored 11 in winning the world title in 1966. Meanwhile, France beat Poland 3-1 in another World Cup last 16 clash on Sunday. France were relentless on the attack as they pushed for an opening goal, but could not unlock a sturdy Poland until just before the break when Kylian Mbappe played a pinpoint ball through to Olivier Giroud, who hammered it past a diving Wojciech Szczesny to claim his 52nd goal for Les Bleus. Holders France continued to press after the break, with Giroud almost netting a second when he flicked Jules Koundé's cross just past the near post. but Mbappe did not miss in the 74th minute, unleashing a missile from just inside the penalty area that shot into the top corner. Mbappe was not done, adding a second goal in stoppage time with another screamer to seal the win and take his total for the tournament to 5. A handball by Dayo Upamecano gave Poland's Robert Lewandowski a chance of scoring a consolation goal with a penalty that was first saved by Hugo Lloris before being retaken and scored, as the keeper did not have his feet on the line. Man pleads guilty to filming woman in toilet. This and more after this short break. Welcome back to Nightline. Police recorded a statement from Tan Sri Abdul Hadi Awang at the Sentul Police Headquarters on Monday, following several reports lodged against him. After giving his statement, which took nearly 2 hours, he called on authorities to also investigate those who allegedly made statements that touched on the sensitivity of Islam.
Dan saya memberi kerjasama yang sepenuhnya polis. Belasan soalan dikeluarkan dan memberi penjelasan. Semua dan bersedia untuk tindakan selanjutnya. Sama ada ke mahkamah atau sebagainya, saya bersedia. Saya minta supaya giliran pihak lain, pihak PH yang menyentuh umat Islam juga disegerakan. Siasat sama, ya. Kita tunggu dan lihatlah.
Previously, Tan Sri Abdul Hadi had claimed that DAP is promoting Islamophobia and blocking PAS from forming the government. He also described the Pakatan Harapan component party to be immoral. However, some quarters viewed his remarks as seditious and could threaten national unity. In Malacca, a restaurant worker is facing imprisonment of up to 5 years for filming a woman while she was using a toilet at his workplace last month. Welfare Department. Lebanese architect Nizar Haddad recently moved into a self-sufficient and low-cost